To the drivers' press conference after the FIA Formula One Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Our winner, Oscar Piastri, is still in the TV pen, so we'll get going with our second and third place drivers, Charles Leclerc and George Russell. So Charles, if we come to you first, very well done. You drove beautifully. You spent a lot of time looking at the gearbox of Oscar Piastri's McLaren. What were the differences between your cars today?
Thanks for reminding me. It's been a pretty frustrating race. I mean, we ran two different configurations. Obviously, they had, I think, a lower downforce package. We had a bit more downforce, which made us quite quick in the castle section. However, in all the straights, they were flying. And that's probably where I lost the race. I misjudged that. And when Oscar overtook me into turn one, I was not too worried. I just wanted to stay within the DRS, keep my tires, and attempt an overtake later on. However, this opportunity never really arose again, just because we were too slow in the straights. So, yeah, that was a small misjudgment which had a big consequence. So sometimes it hurts, and it does today, but it's the way it is. On the other hand, it's been pretty good last couple of races in terms of performance. This weekend haven't been great because obviously we've got Carlos that was in a good position, that didn't manage to finish a race, but within the team we are in a good mood, and we need to keep pushing in that direction.
31 laps on the hard tyre was a lot, especially in dirty air the whole time, or pretty much the whole time. At what point did you start to struggle?
Straight away. As soon as I got out the box on the hard, we just didn't manage to find the grip that McLaren had on those tires. And then again, when Oscar overtook me, I was quite calm in the car, and I just was focusing on my tire management, which I did. And after 10-15 laps, I thought that everything was coming together, and that maybe towards the end we will be in a better place. But with the dirty air, I think for 20-25 laps towards the end, my tires were completely gone, and again they were just too quick in the straights for me to attempt anything.
Can you talk us through Oscar's move for the lead? Did he catch you by surprise?
Not really by surprise, because he wasn't completely straight behind me. He was a little bit on the left, so I could see in my mirrors that he was there, and that it was a possibility for him to go there. But again, I couldn't really be super aggressive. I still had cold tires. I was really struggling to put those tires into temperature, and I just thought it wasn't that much of a big deal if he would overtake me at that point of the race, because the race was still long, and the DRS will help me to stay within a second of him, and then once my tires will be in temperature, I could overtake him again. But as I said, that was a misjudgment from my side.
Now, you said there's a good mood in the team. This was your fourth podium in a row. Do you have a car now that you can compete for the win at every Grand Prix?
Not yet. I think Baku, Monza, and probably Singapore as well. These three races have very specific characteristics for cars, and so we've got to wait maybe for Austin. That will be a bit more of a normal track again, to understand whether we've done the steps forward we expected. But in this, these last two races plus Singapore, we need to maximize the points and take opportunities if we have opportunity to actually win races. Today, I feel like we've missed that opportunity.
Okay, bad luck. Thank you, Charles, for that. George, let's come to you now. Very well done as well. Third time on the podium this year for you. After starting P5, what were your expectations coming into the Grand Prix?
Yeah, we thought we could probably fight for P5, but how the race unfolded, we definitely didn't expect. We were really slow in the first stint. I was about 1.5 seconds slower than Charles most laps, and it all felt pretty disastrous. But then the last 20 laps of the race, we were a second a lap quicker than Piastri and Charles, and 3 or 4 attempts quicker than Max and Carlos and Checo. So, you know, I'm sort of a bit frazzled as to why that is. The only difference is going from a yellow tyre to a white tyre, and yeah, we need to understand further.
Well, you were the only team to run the hard tyre in practice on Friday. Did that prior knowledge help you?
Not really, to be honest. On practice on Friday, the track's been really dirty this weekend, and the track was about 3 seconds off the pace on Friday, so that didn't contribute towards it.
Now, Toto came on the radio saying there were a lot of learnings from this weekend. What were the main ones for you, do you think?
It's a race winner.
And we have we have the race winner. Oscar, many congratulations to you. We'll come to you in just a second. Just the main learnings for you, George.
Well, we need to understand what happened in the race, because the last stint we had a car that was comfortably capable of winning this race. And in the first stint we had a car that probably didn't deserve to be in the top 10. And the only difference is the tyres. So it's... you know, we're not the only team to talk about this. It's pretty frustrating for all of us sometimes when you just don't understand the fluctuations in performance between, you know, Q1 and a Q2 session as an example, or one stint to another. So yeah, it's a challenge.
Now, you were extremely quick in Singapore last year. Do you fancy your chances there this time around?
I've got no idea, to be honest, because, as I said, just in this one race, we had a car that could have won if you took the pace from half of the race, and a car that should have been outside the top 10 from the other half. So I hope we've got the faster version.
All right, George, very well done today. Let's come to our race winner. What a drive, Oscar. So much pressure, yet so much consistency from you as well. How much pleasure does this win give you?
Yeah, for me, I think that ranks as probably my best win of my career, I would say. I think, you know, trying to soak up that pressure for so long in that race, yeah, that was incredibly tough. You know, I in the first stint, when Charles was just pulling away pretty comfortably, I thought, you know, we were going to be second at best. Even, you know, Checo was keeping me very honest, and I could see Carlos was very quick at the end of the medium stint. Yeah, I saw an opportunity or half an opportunity after the pit stop, and knew I had to try and take it. And yeah, I knew that getting to the lead was going to be one thing, but I knew I had my work cut out for me after that to try and stay there, because yeah, I didn't feel like we were the quickest in that first stint. So it was very hard work. You know, I think having clean air did help quite a bit, but yeah, that's, I think for me, has to be one of the best races I've done.
You say clean air did help, but how crucial was it that you took the lead early on in that stint?
It's what won me the race. I felt a bit sorry for my race engineer, because I basically tried to do that in the first stint and completely cooked my tyres. So my engineer came on the radio and said, you know, let's not do that again, basically, and I completely ignored him the next lap and sent it down the inside. So I think at that point, you know, I felt like trying to stay back and wait for Charles to deg was never going to happen. I thought we was just going to secure us P2. So yeah, you know, I had a similar opportunity in the first stint. I felt like on lap 2 or 3, I was, I think, just within DRS, but didn't, you know, fully capitalize on that opportunity. And I got to the end of the straight thinking, oh, if I had have done a couple of things a bit differently here, I maybe had a chance. So when I had a similar opportunity after the pit stop, I had to take it. And yeah, you know, I wouldn't be sat here without that.
It was a great opportunity, but you still came from quite far back.
Yeah, it was the only thing I had. You know, if I didn't take that opportunity then, I was never going to have another one, I think. So, I mean, credit to Charles, he was incredibly fair. You know, I think maybe he thought I was going to sail on into the runoff, but I was pleasantly surprised that I actually made the corner. So, yeah, it was, you know, a high risk, high commitment move, but that's what I needed to do to try and win the race, because you know, I wasn't really going to be that keen to finish second, so I had to try.
Oscar, you're now the top scorer in the last 7 races. Do you feel you're building some momentum now?
Yes and no. I mean, someone else has probably scored the most in the last 8 races. Someone else has probably scored the most. For me, you know, cherry picking these kind of races doesn't mean much for me. You know, I think I have had a good run through, you know, so the European part of the year and now continuing, but yeah, it's not just down to me. You know, we've had a car that's been very quick and consistently quick in a lot of places, and even if we've not necessarily been the outright quickest everywhere, we've been in with a chance everywhere. And I think today was definitely one of those days where we weren't necessarily the quickest, but we had a car that could put us in the fight. We had a pit stop that could put us in the fight. We had some teamwork that put us in the fight, and it all managed to pay off. So, yeah, it's obviously not just down to me, but I feel like I've been driving well. It's been clicking a bit more for me this year, and in terms of the things I wanted to work on from last season, and you combine that with a car that's capable of winning, and results like this are possible.
Very well done to you and to McLaren. Right, let's open this to the floor. Name and publication, please. Who's first?
Jake Bolts, Local Autosport. Question for Charles, please. Charles, I think after the first stint, you were about 6 seconds ahead of Oscar before he came in for a stop, and then you come out and you're basically neck and neck. Can you kind of explain that gap a little bit and how it disappeared? Thank you.
I think today we've lost the race based on two misjudgments. Obviously, the first one I explained earlier, and the fact of not fighting Oscar more was a mistake from my side, because then with the different configurations we were struggling to actually overtake back in the straight. The second one is exactly this. We expected the undercut today to be a very, very difficult thing to do. Just because we thought that the warm-up on the hard will be extremely difficult. For some reason, I don't really have the explanation yet, because I haven't gone into details. I just jumped out of the car. So, but we've got to look into how the gap went from 6 seconds to 1.5, because that is definitely not what we expected, and that is a lot. Even on a track where undercut are big, it's still 4.5 seconds or 4 seconds. So it's a lot of lap time lost, which I don't exactly know why and where we've lost this lap time. So this will be an analysis. But when we speak about that amount of lap time, I think it should be straightforward, and we'll see very quickly whether they just had a much better warm up with the hard than us, or whether we've lost it anywhere else.
Thank you, Charles. Next one.
Aitana Scarley from Nargis Magazine. My question is to you, Charles. You were so close to victory today, and you put an amazing effort today on the grid. But if you could change one thing about your race strategy, what would it be for today specifically?
Well, stop a lap earlier. I think that's it. To try and keep the gap to Oscar behind, and to not have that pressure when you warm up the tires on a track like this. It's never the position you want to be in. But again, it's always very easy to change things after the race. And today, Oscar and McLaren have done a better job than me and Ferrari, and they deserve to win.
Thank you. Any more? Yes. Next one.
Jake Bolts, Local Autosport. Question for Oscar this time, please. Oscar, when you were defending from Charles, I think it was very, very clear that you had the advantage over him in Sector 1. Was that the most sort of important part of the defence there, building that gap? And how was it that you were able to kind of have so much performance through that section? I guess Charles has already spoken that he was running a little bit more downforce, but from your perspective?
I think for me, to be honest, the key was actually hanging on in Sector 2. I felt like as long as I could keep the lead into turn 1, then I felt like I was, I could keep Charles behind. Turn 2, I think, is a very, very slippery corner for some reason this weekend, and if you could get good enough drive out of there, it was, the straight is not quite long enough to have DRS really make an impact to catch back up. So yeah, for me, just taking a lot of risk through the castle section is what I was trying to do, because I needed to try and make the gap in, from turn 7 through the rest of the lap. Yeah, I had a couple of close calls through the castle and turn 15 as well. I think the guys probably need to put another rear corner on my car after the race, but yeah, that was where I was really trying to be fast, and obviously get a good exit out of the last corner. On that note, I think we both need to get a photo of us drifting through the last corner, because that's. I was speaking to Mark, and he said it's like 1950s F1. So yeah, that was a cool moment to watch back. It didn't feel very fun at the time for both of us, I'm sure, but yeah, just trying to maximize the pace through the end of Sector 2 really was where I was trying to make it work.
Thanks, Os. Great. Another one, please. Yes.
Hello, Jim from Tencent Sports China. Question to Oscar. We heard that the radio during the race from Will to Lando, Will said, imagine Andrea on your shoulder saying there will spin every exit of the corner. So I was wondering if Tom Stollard said the same thing to you. What will you do to react about this?
No, I didn't get the same message. I know exactly what that message means and how it would be communicated, but no, I think they recognised that I was doing everything I could to try and keep Charles behind. For me, I was driving flat out to do that. I didn't have the gap or the space to be able to save my tyres. Of course, I was trying to not destroy them, but yeah, when you're trying to break DRS, you have to push flat out. So that's what I did, and yeah, in the end, it worked.
All right, thank you. Another one.
E from Titan Sport. Question to Oscar. You mentioned it was probably one of your most stressful afternoon in your life. So to be more specific, which part did you find the most stressful, even though you explained it in a very calm way?
I think for me, once I got into the lead, which was about 2/3 of the race, so yeah, I knew that getting into the lead was going to be, let's say 40% of the job, but I knew that hanging on to it was going to be 60%, and I knew that I'd use the tyres pretty heavily to try and get in front, and I knew what kind of impact that had in the first stint, and I was kind of just hoping that the clean air was going to help me stay ahead. And it probably did a little bit, but then obviously you lose a lot of time with DRS. So yeah, I think for me, just trying to keep Charles behind was incredibly stressful. I couldn't make a single mistake. I made a couple, but at a track like Baku, it's impossible to be driving flat out and not make any. I was just fortunate that they weren't big enough that it cost me. So yeah, just the whole 30 laps where I was trying to keep Charles behind was incredibly tough.
Thanks. Yes, another one.
J-Box or Lego Sport. Another question for Charles, please. Charles, we heard you at one point over the radio, and Brian, your engineer, said Plan C, and you said not stupid. Can you kind of explain what Plan C was, and were you trying to kind of dummy Oscar into taking a stop that was unnecessary at any point? Thank you.
No, I won't go into details of exactly what this plan was, but it wasn't stupid. That's the only thing I can say, really. But yeah, we didn't go for it. But I've already said enough for you to understand what that means. So it was a different plan than what we've done, and it wasn't stupid. But that's it.
How many plans do you have? What letter does it?
Goes until Z.
Z. Not AA.
We are planning everything.
Okay.